What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I appreciate, man, you taking time to do this with me. I'm pretty excited. The blog post that I wrote is like, I think it's probably the best thing I've seen on house hacking. I really give kind of a overall view, and I'm excited to represent you, man, because the book you wrote, I bought it and was reading through it as preparing for the blog post, and it's like, it's as solid as it comes. It really
Yeah,
is.
it really is. I mean, it discusses details, like perspective, instead of just like, surfacey stuff that we commonly see, hey, it's good for somebody to pay your rent. There's like a lot goes into why you want to do a house hack in this location, in this type of house, in this, like what impact it has on your life ultimately. There's got to be a lot of thought put into that. Nobody ever talks about that, and that's how you end up with a bad experience in a house hack, is if you do the wrong property in the wrong location.
Or in the wrong strategy too. Like it's, Lucas Hall, when he first got started, he had a bunch of roommates and he rented out, each room in a 6-bedroom house. And that works great if you're, a single young college guy, but that would be horrible if you were married.
Right. And if you have a wife, and you got to be respectful of her wishes, and you gotta go here and here at the same time. You got to synthesize a bunch of things, and that's really what the book is about. That's why I thought it was cool, because I stumbled on a method for it that didn't require compromising. My wife is totally happy. In fact, we've been here for a year and a half. I offered her to move. Let's sell this house, because look at the backyard. I'm going to show you the backyard. We've maximized the backyard. We're not all the way done, okay? But this is the house hack that we got going on.
Man, it's beautiful. Look at that. You got a pool and everything.
Pool and everything, dude. And we're not totally done with the landscaping and everything, but we will be. I have a guest in the house in the Casita right now. He was staying in a hotel paying $200 some. He's here for business. He's here for a week. So I get a message on VRBO last night. Hey, I just saw your house. I think I kind of know where it's at. I drove by the location. It seems fantastic. Can I stop over and take a look? He was here. He's paying me $80 a night. That's $500 I'm going to make in a week of him staying here. Single guy. He drives a Tesla. How much trouble do you think I'm going to have with a person like that?
Yeah, I mean, that was actually one of my questions. If you're cool, this thing automatically records. So if I'm good to just keep kind of rolling into this, just starting the video from the beginning of when we started talking. That's one of the questions that I had. Like, one of the major kind of red flags or hesitations someone might, have with doing this type of house hacking is you have revolving strangers coming in and out of your house all the time. So what do you do to offset your risk there?
Well, what I do is I do the same thing that I do with anything that leads to success. I think opposite from the masses. You are telling me that people see that as a risk. I see that as the absolute risk reduction, because there's no leases involved. If there is somebody here I don't like, I don't ever have to see them once they leave. And in order to get them to leave, I don't have to file for eviction. I don't have to pay for court fees. I don't have to hire an attorney. I don't have to do any of those things, because this is not a proper rental. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is they're vetted by VRBO, Airbnb, HomeAway, and all the rest of that. Thirdly, all of the processing is done by those websites, so I don't have to collect money. In fact, that's how I know a scammer. If somebody ever asks me, hey, would you take a payment any other way? No, I won't. That's just about as much as a red flag as you could possibly have, right? So everybody, there's you got to zig when everybody zags. Okay? Everybody on bigger pockets zags. You got to zig.
Yeah.
That's why very few people are successful. Everybody else is just looking around and applauding. So when everybody thinks it's such a big risk factor that you have people coming in for short term, I feel that it's a huge risk reduction and a huge benefit. because A, the velocity of money is faster, so I'm making much more money quickly. B, there's no leases involved, which makes the action of getting them out, if I don't like them, which I've never had happen in the last year and a half yet, but if I had to, it's a lot easier because there's no contractual agreement between the landlord, and it's a different game.
Yeah.
There's no hard, legally I am not obligated to follow the standard protocol, which makes it a whole lot easier. The one thing I wouldn't want is to be living next door in a duplex to a lady with a 4-year-old child who is my tenant, who is on a lease, whose alternator breaks down. She has to make a choice between fixing her car to get to work and paying my rent. She's become friendly with me and my family and my kids, and now I have to evict her. That's a circumstance I never want to find myself in.
Yeah,
that to me is what the risk is. Personal risk, that right there describes it. What I've got, if they don't like me, if I don't like them, 5 days later, we're gone. We'll never have to see each other again. It's over. And there's no eviction. There's no court. There's nothing. There's nothing.
And there's a rating process on Airbnb and these other sites, right, where you can actually give them a rating for the tenant as kind of an accountability, right?
That's right. But more than that, and this is what I talk about in the book, there's a specific property that you want to do this with, and most properties don't fit. The thing is, I charge a lot. And I get people who have some money to spend. People that want the granite countertop, people that want the travertine shower, those kind of people that are willing to spend $250 for a hotel, but they'll give me $75 because it's a third of the cost and it's much nicer. But they're not the same people who have 20 bucks in their wallet and it's their last 20 bucks and they will give it to you and that's all they've got and they can't give you anymore. Those kinds of people go to a house with a spare bedroom that shares, that kind of house hack that youngsters do when they're young because they're young and stupid. And that, I think, exposes you to a lot of risk. So there's a self-selection. In other words, the property itself, what it is and where it is and the price point it's at, does the qualifying. I get professionals, I get grandparents visiting their grandkids, I get people coming in for weddings, I get a different class of clientele here because I charge more. And what I charge does the selection process for me.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. I'm going to be honest with you. As I'm looking to house hack myself, your strategy was the most appealing. I mean, it kind of is the best of all worlds. But I do have a question about the actual numbers. Do you think that it's possible to be at a zero mortgage cost and, all in, housing costs like taxes, insurance, all of that with this strategy?
I mean, anything is possible. That was never the goal for me. In fact, I just checked yesterday. I knew that we were going to be doing this today. So I checked between VRBO and Airbnb so far this year, and there's a little bit left in December, but so far this year, they've paid out about $16,000 to me.
What? That's awesome. How much are you paying in terms of mortgage?
So my mortgage right now, I think all in, that's including pool service, including all that kind of stuff, I think about $2,200 a month.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Okay, so I'm living in a house like this, and I'm paying $1,000 a month to be here. I mean, that's exactly what the plan was, and that's exactly how it's working out. And this year, my cleaning lady that helps us clean this house, basically most of the turns she does in the Casita. So I've kind of phased myself out because I got a little busy syndicating apartments. So it's like there's only so many hours in the day. So, but you laugh, but I think diversified revenues are important. And even if it's $1,000, $1,500 a month, that's not nothing because by the time you have 5 of them, you are a lot safer. And that's kind of like my whole MO, right? You know, I do syndications, and that's big money. That's over here. But over here, you know, I sell a course. I have House Hack. You know, I have a website I make a little money on. All of that, and all of that helps because it diversifies me and creates multiple revenue streams.
So what are the major risks then when it comes to doing this type of house hacking? I know in my own due diligence, I've found that certain lenders are getting more strict on short-term rentals. So certain, you know, I think I was talking to a lender earlier this year, and they were telling me that, you know, within the actual contract for the loan, it was saying if you use this property for short-term rentals of any kind, Airbnb, etc., then we will call the note due. So have you run into that? How do you kind of navigate over that?
I have not run into this. I think that mostly probably applies to non-owner occupied. So, you know, Fannie Mae allows you 10 residential sellable mortgages, and they're okay with you using them as rentals. I think what they're probably saying here is that if you buy this unit and you plan to strictly utilize it as an Airbnb rental, then probably you're gonna have a problem with it. If you live here, I don't see how that would be applicable. I've not seen that, but certainly, listen, the reason I'm only making $16,000 as opposed to 24 is because you have no idea how many friends come over and stay. I mean, like, I live in an area where people want to see, people want to be, people on vacation, you know? So half the time, I mean, like this 16,000, like last year, we rented out less than 6 months out of the year, cumulatively, when you add it up. This year, I think it's going to be even less. Wow. I'm charging more now because I have good reviews, this and that and the other. But I have so many people, friends and family, coming to stay with us that this isn't the main bit. I mean, you know, I didn't buy the house to run a business out of it. I bought a house to live in it.
Right.
I would live in this house if I needed to without Airbnb. It's not like I can't afford it, but, you know, since it's sitting right there, why not?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, honestly, it makes in certain areas, because I don't think that this would work in like middle of nowhere, Midwest, you know, USA. But in certain areas, like where I live in Chicago, where you live in Arizona, you know, this is an incredible way to substantially reduce your monthly expenses. I mean, a lot of places in like San Francisco and here in Chicago, people can't afford a house. They just can't.
Right.
But if you did something like this and you could cut your mortgage in half and all you had to pay was like, you know, $750 to $1,000, I mean, it's an incredible way to get a beautiful house in a great area. And what's I really like about it is the control factor that you're mentioning, that you can, you know, if I want to make more money, I do more Airbnb. If I want to have friends over, I want to have a weekend where I don't have anybody around, then I just don't list my property as available.
Absolutely.
You know? It's awesome.
It's perfect, dude. And if you buy the right kind of house, now I can't show you the inside of the casita because somebody is in there right now, as I said from yesterday. But so this is my living room. Okay. That's the tree. 'Tis the season.
Nice.
Okay. But you open my front door, and that's the casita right there across the courtyard. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our staircase. That goes up to the office, which is perfect because when you talk about deductions, nobody goes up there for anything other than business. Okay. And then that's the casita right there.
Man.
And so there's about 25 feet that separates me from my guest. The casita is attached to the house by way of a garage wall, but it's not attached by way of any other walls. So we literally don't hear anything goes on there. They don't hear anything goes on here, okay? But it's close enough to where if there's any monkey business going on, I will know right away.
Right.
So it's a perfect situation. It's the best of both worlds.
Now, how do you find properties that have in-law suites or casitas? Like, you know, are you licensed or do you use
My wife is licensed, but that doesn't change anything because when you look in the MLS, what you begin to find out is that the findability of a listing is only as good as the input factors that the agent on the other side utilized. So if they didn't call it a casita, if they didn't make it clear what it is, you'll never find it. How do you search for it? So you have to develop techniques to look for this kind of thing. And my wife did. She's an agent. She does a lot of business here. When we were looking, it took her a while to kind of catch on to the fact that they're kind of hidden. They're not. It's not obvious what these houses are. So you have to have a good agent. You have to have a good agent to look. But they're not particularly more popular. Now, I will tell you that they're very seldom in the Midwest. And that reflects the fact that I think in Arizona, the dynamic that can be described as, he's coming over from Michigan because he's a computer dude. He got a job over here with Intel or whatever. He's bringing his family. His father has passed away. His mom is coming with. She wants to be close and helpful, but not right on top of him.
Right.
Okay. So that dynamic exists, and some of the builders are kind of caught on to that, and they build to accommodate that kind of footprint in a home, that kind of familial dynamic. So these things aren't necessarily built to be a rental unit. They're more built to be an attached ADU, an attached dwelling for like a mother-in-law suite. Okay. Also, very common, a lot of people work from home here. So you will have a lot of times that you'll have an office set up that's separated somehow from the rest of the house. Okay.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
There's plenty of them out here. They're not everywhere. There are certain communities, certain part of town, certain, you got to know where you're looking. But can you do this in your basement? If you're in Chicago, if you're in San Francisco, can you do this in your basement? You got a 2-door house with a basement. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I have students doing it whichever way. I happen to feel this is an exquisitely good solution because of this courtyard and this separation and they're literally not inside my structure.
So do you let them use your backyard or like your kitchen, that kind of stuff? Like, because you have the pool back there.
No. There's a kitchenette inside the casita.
Okay.
I allow them use of my pool, but I've only had one person in the last year and a half who came down here for spring training, an athlete, use the pool. I think, or maybe 2. I had 2 people. That's it.
Wow. That's awesome. Do you have any like set curfews? Like, hey, it's cool for you to be in the backyard, but after like 8:30 p.m., you're not allowed to be back there. Any kind of rules like that? Or
that would be a good idea. I never thought of it, and I've never had an issue with it. Again, this is a function of the audience I attract.
Right.
If you have a single man who is here to work or to apply for a CFO position in some company or to, they're not going to be partying out there.
Right.
If you have, I can't remember exactly how big my casita is, but it's right around, 250 square feet. You are not getting college students who are coming to drink and party. It's just not big enough. It's not what they're looking for. They're looking for a big-ass house.
Right.
You can rent and put 15 people into it and have a party. I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't try to house hack that.
Yeah.
I'll make it increasingly nice, but I will buy a small, tidy unit that's going to be easy on the maintenance. It's going to be easy on the cleaning, easy on the upkeep, but it's going to be compressed enough to where people are comfortable, but no more than that. You're not going to spread out. Okay? That's exactly what I bought.
So did you put any money into making it more like a hotel room, or did you just kind of rent it out as is?
No, we spent money on it.
Okay.
So when we bought it, it had a bathroom and a closet next to the bathroom, walk-in closet. And basically a bedroom with a bathroom and a closet. So we took the door off the closet, we took the wall out, we put in a kitchenette into that closet. We put travertine and granite in the kitchenette, granite in the, sink.
Right.
And travertine to the ceiling and the whole 9 yards. So we made it very nice just like the rest of the house. We did that in the rest of the house. We made it very nice. I could have, and I talk about this a lot, and I give you examples with numbers. So I did my market analysis, and I just kind of figured, listen, I could rent this for $30 to $40 a night without doing anything to it. Or I could make it nicer. I could spend money. I could rent it for twice as much. Okay. And the big difference was the quality of the guest I felt I would get by making it nicer. They would be gentler on my stuff. They would have more money. They would care about credit. They would care about their reputation. They would care about their rating on these websites, which you can't really say about people that are just crashing for the night for $30. So I felt like the neighborhood and the house, equity-wise, could sustain me spending a little bit of money on that. But I'm actually making higher cash flow with lower economic losses because of the fact that I'm getting more better qualified people in this casita.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Now, I have one final question for you, and then I'm going to go totally selfish on you and ask you your opinion about my personal situation. Is there a seasonal ebb and flow to the ability to rent out your casita? What does that look like, and how do you offset that or plan for that?
I don't worry about it. I think it's important. We're about to get into your personal situation.
Right.
Okay. And I'm going to start right now. If you can't make your payment without having somebody in this rental, you shouldn't be doing this.
Very good point. I like that a lot.
So that's, we needed that. That's the baseline. Okay. If I needed to make the $2,200 payment, I would be still very happy to be in this house. It's a very nice house. It's very well located. It's like I said, I offered my wife, let's sell this house. We could put some money in the pocket, go buy another one and do it. She says, it's perfect. Awesome. Unless we're moving into $1 million mansion, and we're not going to do that right now.
Yeah. That's
maybe.
Maybe.
but probably not for a couple of years, okay? So she said, unless we're doing that, she says, I'm a realtor. I go here and I go there and I go like that. And this is perfectly located to where most of my client base is. This is where I want to be. Infrastructure is great. You got a store 30 seconds away around the corner. You got another one 8 minutes down the road. We have everything we need. Okay. I don't want to go through this unless there's a real good reason to go through it. So I'm in this house. And I'm going to pay the $2,000 a month, and it's not going to bother me if there's nobody in there, frankly, because I make enough money elsewhere it's not going to bother me, okay? Right. Now, I am of a mindset that says, if you can make the money, why not? Stupid not to.
Right. Yeah.
So I open myself for the possibility that I'm going to make a little money there, and when they come along, they come along. And where you can get onto Airbnb and probably find a bunch of things for between $40 and $60. Mine is $80. If somebody's willing to spend a little more money, I'm probably going to like having this person, so why not?
Yeah.
Okay. But there's definitely, the summer months are very slow. Because it gets 115 degrees. Most people don't travel. Most of the, like last year, we were totally full in the summer because we had a guy that rented out for like a month and a half, and we had another guy rented out for a year, for a month. The first one was a CFO that was getting a job, relocated, looking for a house. He was relocating from about 3 hours from here. Okay, so he stayed here for about a month and a half, on and off, in the summer. And the other guy was moving out of state, actually one of my students. Gave him a nice discount. He rented for a month. My wife helped him found a house hack of his own.
Wow. Okay.
So we kind of got lucky because it was a nice discount to both of those people, obviously. But the casita, I'm of a frame of mind, if they're going to run the AC, there's a limit to how low I want to go. Because if I'm not going to, I still got to turn the sheets and pay the cleaning, and I'm not going to do that unless I'm getting XYZ.
Right.
right? So this summer we had a few guests on and off, but nothing like that. Um, Definitely right now is the season when everybody's trying to get out here and go hiking, and because right now it's about 50 degrees outside. It's going to be 65 during the day.
Perfect.
Perfect weather.
Right. Yeah, no, that's awesome. So let me ask you your take on my current situation. So I'm living in Chicago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I love Chicago. I love the city, but it is, and I have a lot of, I have a really good church here and a lot of really good stuff going on. So I want to be around Chicago, but all of the warning signs make it pretty clear that Chicago is going to hit a massive economic downturn before it gets any kind of better. So, I mean, property taxes are going up, population is declining, all of that. So I'm looking at exploring moving to Northwest Indiana because I have my managing brokers I have my managing broker's license in Indiana, and I'm familiar with the market. I do all my land business out there. And right now I live on the most northern tip of Chicago. I live in Rogers Park. So to get downtown, it's about 35 minutes to get to downtown Chicago for where I live. If I move to Munster, Indiana, it's about a 40 minute drive to downtown Chicago. It's the same kind of commute, about the same kind of distance to where I go to church, all of that stuff. And it's massively cheaper, but I'm not super convinced that if I house hack this way, that I'm going to be able to find people to rent out my Airbnb. So how would you go about doing the research to determine that? Because I have done some research on Airbnb, and I do see that there are other people who are, Airbnb-ing they're renting out their property on Airbnb in that area because maybe somebody's coming into Chicago that wants a little bit more quieter stay or whatever. But I'm still not convinced that that's going to be doable for me. So what would be your advice for my situation?
Right. So if we kind of look at a funnel, we start very wide and then we narrow the conversation down to like the minutia, right? So at the top of the funnel is the fact that everybody's leaving that area. So why you would want to stay and wonder how you're going to attract people to a product you're bringing to a market while everybody's leaving.
Right.
Indiana is Indiana, dude. There's nothing, what are you going to say? It's Indiana.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah, I don't get excited about Indiana. About the only place in Indiana that's worth anything is Indianapolis, and that ain't much. So,
Yeah, that's where I moved from. So.
Well, I know. And that's, Indianapolis and Columbus, Ohio are the only two markets in the entire Midwest that you would look at and you would see any kind of reason to get excited about anything. Anything else is like, why? So that's one thing. The second thing is Chicago. I dislike Chicago with a passion that I can't possibly allow you the benefit of recognizing over this thing, okay? I don't like Chicago. I don't like the politics of Chicago. I don't like the weather in Chicago. I don't like the grayness, the darkness, the heaviness. I don't like the attitudes. There's nothing about Chicago I like. Okay. So my general perspective in business, if I want it, somebody else is going to want it for the same reason. And if I make it easier for them to have it, by internalizing my experiences and therefore shortening the learning curve, then I'm probably going to get some traction, okay? I don't know how to answer your question because I don't want Chicago, and I'm sure as hell don't want Indiana.
Right.
Okay, so my question to you would be, you
Why don't I move? Right.
You're a young guy. You're married, you don't have kids yet, you're going to start a family. Why are you there?
Yeah.
Why are you not going somewhere where you look up and you see palm trees and blue skies and life is wonderful and taxes are low and property taxes are low and everything's, I don't understand that. So that's my answer to you kind of at a macro scale is you're trying to split hairs,
right?
But you have bad options and worse options. And that's why you're struggling, because you intuitively know this is bad option and worse option.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no good options there.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, all things being equal, it would be a lot smarter to move to somewhere like Florida or Texas or Arizona, because I don't like the political and economic scene here either. Like, it's a lot of really bad stuff going on.
Chicago, and they're just mowing about the taxes, dude. Taxes are going up every day.
Every year, man. Every year, property. I mean, the typical, it's not
just property taxes,
everything.
Income taxes. Rahm Emanuel is just,
it's crazy. I mean, it's normal for people to spend $10,000 to $12,000 a year in property taxes.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so I am in this house. I think it's about 2,500 square feet. I've got a pool in the backyard. I got this casita. I got the office upstairs. My property taxes on this house are $2,600 a year.
Wow.
Now, obviously, as population growth, this place is growing like crazy. Phoenix, this whole area is growing a lot. So obviously, it's not going to stay this low. At some point, you need services. You need infrastructure. So the taxes are going to go up. But the point, I'm telling you, in Columbus, Ohio, to be in a house like this in a good school district, I'd be paying 3 times as much. I'd be paying $7,500 to $11,000. Wow. In Chicago, for a comfortable house in a comfortable location, I'd be paying $24,000. Forget 12.
Right.
Like $24,000 I'd be paying. Okay. And we have a lot of friends from Chicago here. It's like that, so it's going to be a long time that it gets from the $2,600 I'm paying today
before
to
you
even
have to
$7,500. It'll be a long time.
Right.
I'll take care of my business and ride off in the sunset and leave my kids with whatever. And it's fun. Right?
Yeah.
So that's my answer to your question. You're trying to, decide between bad and worse. I can't help you with that, because it's silly.
Yeah.
Your wife can get a job anywhere. You can do what you do. You can have a land business. You can have a podcast. You can have, whatever. You work remotely anyhow. So you can do what you do anywhere. So why stay there? Just so you can lower $1,000 a month. Stupid.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something to consider. I just know that because my wife's from Kazakhstan, that there's a very large Kazakh community here. Like, my mother-in-law, who doesn't speak English, can get work, and there's some lifestyle factors. Like, again, we found a really good church community that we've never been able to find something like before. And so there's some more other lifestyle factors to consider, but I am definitely going to have a conversation with my wife and at least
I understand that. So it's all about quality of life. If you take it back, and this is what I discovered a while back. Everybody read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, one of the concepts, one of the principles that is kind of infamous is that, hey, you buy an asset over here to throw off cash flow, then you take that cash flow, pay for a doodad over here. So you have an asset here offsetting the doodad over here. Why do you need to do that? Because it's human nature. You want the doodad.
Right.
So what? You're going to go through your whole life not allowing yourself anything that you want? That's just insane.
Yeah.
We're here for a short time. You got to enjoy it.
Yep.
But there's a smart way to enjoy it, which is to buy an asset over here to offset the doodad over here. Well, something I kind of challenged myself a little bit and realized along the way is you want the doodad. Everybody says buy an asset to offset the doodad, and that's great. That works. But, can you take it another step and say, can I take this doodad and can I twist it upside down to create an asset out of it?
Yeah.
So that it itself can pay for itself, and that way you can afford to have it.
Yeah.
So that's what a house hack is. I got to have a house. I want a nice house. Well, a nice house is kind of a doodad. Nobody needs a nice house. You want a nice house.
Right.
You want a pool in the backyard. You want the granite and travertine. You want the stainless thing. You don't have to have those things. You want those things. Okay, you want to be in a particular location. Okay, so it's a doodad. I don't want to pay for it. Just I haven't made it yet financially to a place where it's just whatever. I'll pay. It doesn't even matter. It does matter for me right now, but I still want it. So my two options are say no to yourself, buy an asset over here to afford the doodad over here, which works, okay, or take this doodad and create an asset out of itself so that it can pay for itself. That's what a house hack is. Yeah. Okay. If you want to talk to people about financial literacy, but you have a family to support, you can't do that. So what do? You start a podcast. You get a platform that pays for itself and throws a little money your way. All of a sudden, you can afford to sit there and talk to people about financial literacy. Yeah. Same freaking thing, right? Same thing. That's what we do. We do things to facilitate our wants. Okay, this big push everywhere, including bigger pockets, about frugality. That's bullshit. Yeah. You can't sustain that.
Yeah, I agree.
Not only can you not sustain it on a personal level, but try to go have a freaking family and have 2 kids and they need stuff. You just can't. There's only so much you can stretch. You can't stretch beyond a certain point, because it's not worth it. Life just turns.
Yeah, man. I mean, you are playing my heartstrings, man. Like we just interviewed a guy recently on the podcast, and we kind of had a little bit of a debate, and I'll link it in the description box below. But it was really interesting because I definitely kind of come from the Dave Ramsey model, and he was challenging me about that. He's like, man, like, why don't you just, instead of trying to stretch your pennies, why don't you just make more money? And I was like, oh, wait a minute. And then I ran some numbers, and if you look at cash on cash return eliminates saying that debt is evil or debt is wrong, because I mean, if I'm looking at my cash on cash return, if I can put in $1,000 to have the power of $50,000, I will do that every single day, because the money that I'm taking that $50,000 on to grow, I'm going to be able to make the much higher return on $1,000 because I'm borrowing money. So it kind of, after I had that conversation, I went to the whiteboard and I ran some numbers, and what you're saying is 100% spot on. Math doesn't lie, you know?
It is. Listen, and I buy apartments, and I buy apartment communities. And the single most important thing you can do is drive the top line. That's the thing that's going to make or break your investment. Drive the top line. You can penny pinch, you can, and you have to. It's your job to kind of control the expenses. But the fact of it is, and I'll bring it to you because it's less intuitive in our own lives, but there are millions of apartments in this country. There are people whose job it is actuarially to go through and study, this is how much this line item costs. This is how much this line item costs. They do it for each apartment complex scheme. This is a 1 floor. This is a high rise. This is a garden style 3 stories. Let's group them over here. Let's do Midwest over here. Let's do Southwest over here. They know all the data. We know how much stuff costs. You are not going to bend that median. You're just not going to outperform the average. You can do a little better one year, a little worse the next year. On a sustainable basis, we know how much it costs.
Right.
It's not magical. This is the same in your life. The only thing I can do is assume that I can perform with the averages on the expenses, but be creative and push the top line more than the other guy. Yeah. That's what I have to assume. That's what my business plan has to define. That's what a value add in apartment space really is.
Man.
Right? In your own life, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Stuff costs what it costs. You got to pay for insurance. You got to pay for car. You got to pay for, property taxes. You got to pay. Yeah, it's different numbers by the area. And this is why I'm telling you why you're there. It's like, but having said that, we all know how much this stuff costs. So outside of that, you got to drive the top line.
Yeah, man. I think that that's extremely, extremely wise advice. And I'm going to be going to the whiteboard like I do with a lot of these conversations and do some brainstorming. And I'm going to talk to my wife. And I really appreciate your time. Ben, if people want to get to know you better, where's a good place for them to check you out online?
Sure. Folks can find me either on www.justaskbenwhy.com. Just Ask Ben Why, that's WHY.com. This is my website. I sell a little real estate course there. You will also see that we're having a fantastic event for syndicators in the end of January. I think it's 25th or 26th. That's going to be there. I'm also, of course, on Bigger Pockets. You can find me on Bigger Pockets. And my email is ben@justaskbenwhy.com.
Perfect. So I'll be linking all of that in the description box below. Man, this has been an incredible interview. So thank you so much for your time.
It's my pleasure.